Probably the most shocking thing that I ever ate was one mama, she made a slap lap, but because she didn't have money to buy chicken, she had went down to the ocean and she had picked the little black worms that were in the sand, and she had put that on top of the lap lap instead of other meat and then cooked it. So when she gave us this lap lap, there were black little dead worms all over it, and I couldn't do it. It was just not what I was used to. It was really hard for me to eat something like that because that's not something that we eat here in America. In one of my areas, it was called Showground, we had to walk through a coconut plantation. Just this huge, massive area of coconut trees. And we just had a little path, I guess, that we'd walk through to get to our area. But depending on what time we were walking back, we would walk through this field and the sun was setting, and so the shadows of the trees were right along this path that we had created. And that meant that all the cows in the plantation would come stay in the shade where it was cooler. And that was right along the path. Now, usually my companion and I would get about 15 feet away from these cows, and then we'd clap our hands and shout out and woo, try to scare the cows away. And usually the cows would just run out of the way, and then we'd walk through and get back to our apartment. And I had no problem, so I was completely fine with it. I had no reason to be scared. The cows, they always moved. I thought they were scared of us because we were humans. But I changed my opinion after one day when we were walking home, and I clapped my hands, and all the cows moved except for this one. It was a smaller one, so probably a baby. I just kept clapping and getting a little closer and getting a little closer, and my companion was next to me, and we were both, come on, move out of the way. And this cow would not move. And so we probably got within 5 feet of this cow. And the cow leans forward, and it kind of goes back and forth and kicks its feet. And I was like, oh, sister, he's gonna charge us. And then about 20 feet on the right-hand side, I assume the mama cow looks over at us and starts running towards us. And I look at my companion and I said, run! And so we ran through the coconut plantation underneath the fence, and it was terrifying. And after that time, every single time we walked through the coconut plantation, I was terrified that a cow was going to run us. So that was one of my scary experiences with animals. Another thing that I struggled with were the dogs. The dogs in Vanuatu are kind of like wild dogs. Some of them are nice, but very, very few of them are, I would say, nice. We walk into the yard, and all of a sudden, 4 huge dogs run around the house and start charging us. And my companion was from Samoa, just the Samoan sister, and she grabbed me and throws me in front of her and yells, ah! And I, of course, start screaming too because I'm terrified of these 4 dogs that are running towards me. And luckily, the mama came out and yelled at the dogs and controlled them, but it was so scary. And I've had many times when my companions have been walking ahead and they passed, and then I walk by and a dog will come out for me, and I'm convinced it's because my legs are white and they look like chicken. And the only other thing that's as white as my legs is chicken that the dogs have seen, so they go straight for my legs because they want to eat it. So I was terrified of dogs throughout my mission, and I still have that fear here in Utah, and it's something that I'm trying to get over, but the dogs are scary. In Vanuatu, the most common food is lap lap. If you've ever heard of taro, that's a common Polynesian food. They take a metal can and they cut it in half and they pound it out so it's a flat piece of metal. And then they take a nail and they poke lots and lots and lots of holes in this flat tin can. So it looks like on your cheese grater, the side where you would like shred a lemon, the really, really fine grating, that's what this can is. The whole thing is kind of like that part where you scrape the lemon on your cheese grater, if that makes sense. But what happens is they take the taro or another root called kumala or manioc or banana, and green banana, and they scratch it against this thing until it's all just kind of mush. It kind of looks like cream of wheat, I guess. And they lay it out on banana leaves and they smash it real thin, and they can put chicken on it or pork or vegetables if they want, and then they cover it up, tie it up, and they put it on top of hot rocks for a couple hours until it's cooked all the way. And then they take it out, and to me, when I first tasted it, I first saw it, it looked like rubber. Or if you've ever taken hot glue and you just squirt it out and then it dries, that's what it felt like and what it tasted like at first. I had a really hard time with the food at first. I tasted it probably the first week on my mission, and I couldn't swallow it. It just made me gag, and so my companion had to finish eating it for me. But by the end of my mission, I loved it, and I think the last week I was serving, I probably had it at least once every day, if not twice. My favorite food, though, would be simboro, and that is the same thing. They grate the root vegetable, except I roll it. They put a little bit of it, in what's called island cabbage, and it's kind of like Swiss chard, kind of like spinach, I guess. It's a leafy green vegetable, and you put a little bit of the lap stuff inside, and you roll it up so it's about that big, and then you boil it. And then you milk coconuts and put coconut milk inside, some ginger, some garlic, some vegetables, green beans maybe, or tomatoes, and then you eat it. It's kind of like soupy stew, I guess, and that is delicious. I would make that with my companions all the time, and I loved it. The biggest holiday is probably Independence Day, and that is July 30th. They have huge celebrations, fireworks and parties and big feasts. Christmas, on the other hand, is not very big. Nobody listens to Christmas music. Nobody has Christmas lights. Nobody has Christmas trees. It's more of a day for men to go get drunk than anything, I guess. So that was kind of hard for me because I do love the holidays. I do love Christmas. And there were so many kids, even though it is a Christian society and the majority of people are Christian, who they had never heard the story of Jesus' birth before. And that was so special to be able to really focus on the true meaning of Christmas. It's not the stories, it's not the gingerbread, it's not the ice skating, it's not the sledding, it's not Santa. It's the story of Christmas, and that was made abundantly clear in Vanuatu, where that was the only thing that made Christmas to me, because all the other fluff was gone. I served on 2 different islands in Vanuatu. While I was serving, missionaries were only on 6 islands, and sisters were only on 2. I served on Ifate for the first 7 months of my mission, and I finished the last 11 months of my mission on an island called Espiritu Santo. Just a little bit about those 2 islands. Ifate is the capital. That's where Port Vila is. It's probably the most developed island, I would say. It has more paved roads than any of the other islands. It has a movie theater. It has a lot more things. And that's where the cruise ships usually go. They have one almost every single day of the year. And that is where a lot of the money comes from. The people will go and they will sell things at the market, or they'll sell things down by the cruise ship to all the tourists. The tourists usually come from Australia or New Zealand. The natives, or the Nivans, call them white men. So whenever you see a white person, they're called the white men. And that was very, very different for me at first, being the only white person and never seeing a white person for the whole entire day. I made lots and lots of babies cry because I was the first white person that they ever saw. So on Ifate, there is a huge market, and that is where we did most of our shopping. It's right next to the ocean, and that's where you get all your fruits and vegetables, your bananas, your coconuts, your manioc, taro, kumala, your onions, your pineapple, just all your island food. One of my favorite foods were the island berries and the pineapple. Pineapple in January is incredible. It is so good. And then after we do our shopping, we go to the Abar Marché, and that's the biggest store in Vanuatu. On the other island that I served in Santo, they just had a smaller store, and that was about the size of a gas station. But on Ifate, it's probably the size of maybe 2 gas stations, I guess. But that's where you could get your chicken and if you wanted soda or chips or sauces and stuff like that, that's where you could get that, is at the Agua Marché. When I first got there, I had a companion who grew up in an island similar to Vanuatu, and so she wasn't used to eating the same things that I was. And so we did a lot of our shopping at the Chinese stores along the street. There's a lot of Chinese people that live in Vanuatu. And we were eating lots of rice and lots of tin black tuna soaked in oil every single day. And I was getting super, super sick. And then some of the other missionaries told me, there's another store where you can get kind of normal food. And so that's when I was able to start eating kind of like American, as similar to an American as you can get when you're in the Pacific Islands. Santo, I served there for the last 11 months of my mission. They call it an outer island, but it is one of the biggest islands in Vanuatu. It is the biggest island in Vanuatu. They have a town as well. It's called Luganville. It's pretty much just a straight street, and they have stores on either side of the street. And same there as Ifate. We went to the internet cafe on Mondays, and then we'd kind of bounce back and forth to the different stores to get everything that you needed for the week. Because they are considered an outer island, I felt like their attitude about life was much more relaxed. In Santo, I served in a bush chapel for 8 months while I was there, and this chapel the sides were made out of bamboo. The top was made out of natangura leaves, which were woven together. And the door was non-existent. The ground was sand, and the benches were just wood planks with 2 legs on the side. And it was hard, especially when it rained, because water would leak through the roof, or even when it was sunny, you'd see chickens running in and out of the chapel, or dogs barking, or cats climbing on top of the roof. But the spirit was still there, and that was really neat, to put aside the things that we think are important, that we sometimes think that in order to worship God, we need to be in a clean, quiet place. But that's not true. The spirit was definitely there, and these people came ready to learn. Hello, offrembla mi blo Vanuatu. Mi lava mi fala tumas, mo mi miss mi fala gogo. Mi hope say one day, mi sabi come back lo Vanuatu. Mo stop with them, mi fala back again. Me want to tell them thank you lo or something way you've been helping me. Lo me cam lo time we been stop lo place yeah. Me think say me got one family lo US mo one not a family way he stopped lo Vanuatu.